Previously on Break the Cycles. We survived riding through the river to get to Machu Picchu. Then we found a market on the mountainside, middle of nowhere, that is selling alpaca clothing. Finally, we made it through rain, snow, and volcanic geyser at 15,000 feet of elevation to finish our Peru adventure. And then we entered Chile through the Santa Rosa border and arrived at the city of Arica. And we stayed an extra day in Arica, and our host took us around to sand dunes on his Jeep Wrangler TJ. And I was very excited because I literally have the same car back home, so it was very cool. Now, when we entered Chile, like you could tell, like the whole environment landscape change. Like everywhere is just desert-like environment. Every dry air. There's not a lot of greenery, and you don't see that many animals anymore, right? So we visited the sand dune, took some shots, and then he took us to Morro de Arica, which is like this really steep hill, some battleground in the old like Peruvian and like Chilean battleground, and you overlook the whole entire city from this hillside. Like fantastic view. The final spot was Cuevas de Azonta, which is like this cave dwelling. It's actually just south of the just south of the hill, the Morro de Arica that we were just at, right? And this is like these cave dwellings that are along the ocean shore that are carved into the rocks. And these homes were made by the Chinchorro people, which is more than like 3,500 years ago. There is a ton of hiking again, of course, and you have to wear these like blue hard hats. You have to rent them and then wear these blue hard hats in order for you to get in. It was pretty cool. The following day, we thanked our host and for the amazing hospitality and headed out. The roads in Chile are very wide, and for the most part, they're very well paved. I mean, compared to the other countries, these are fantastically paved roads, really well maintained. But there was literally nothing to see but desert, right? It's not a very exciting ride. You're literally riding indefinitely with pretty much the same desert look. Like, that's it. And we ended our day at a war memorial. It's the and this memorial is for the Battle of the Dolores, or the Battle of San Francisco. This was fought between like Peru and Chile in like the 1800s. It really was not a campsite, but we found this picnic area inside this memorial area, center area, like this place, and we set up our tent like in the picnic area, and there was like a pavilion that kind of had like a, I would say like slats over top. Wasn't completely covered, but it was like half covered. And we kind of hid behind the pavilion so no one would be there, no one would see us. And we had the whole place to ourselves, and it was very quiet. We left the next morning and headed further south. And while we were on the road, we saw some signs for the Nazca lines. Since we missed the famous Nazca lines in Peru, we thought maybe we should have a look because we might not have another chance. So the Nazca lines are these like prehistoric geoglyphs, and these are like about more than 500 years old, but they're basically these huge signs or motifs or drawings, whatever you like call it, like in the middle of the desert. And it can be raised or can be sunken. Like you can dig through it or you can like pile stuff up, and they are massive, like absolutely massive. Like it's you can't really see it very that well in person, but the drone catches it better. And then, of course, if you're in a plane, you can see it very well. So these things are like pretty massive, and it's pretty interesting. It's a new thing that I've never seen before. Now, at the end of the day, we ended up in this very small town called Maria Elena. Now, we rode there with some directions on iOverlander, thinking that it would be easy to find lodging. Unfortunately, not only did we come in too late, we also realized, just like all the other towns that we passed, half of these towns are like abandoned. Like 60% of the town is gone. Like none of the stores were open. Like they were all shut down. There, we couldn't find anything there. So it wasn't a surprise that we couldn't find any accommodations. So we ended up riding back out of town. The sun was almost set. And we're looking at the map, and the next town over is like at least an hour, if not longer, away. And we're literally like sitting at the crossroads, and we're thinking, well, what do we do now? Like there at the crossroad, there's like this huge billboard there as well, right? pointing into the town. It's like, hey, come here. And Staley spotted this construction site literally behind the billboard, and that construction site was at least like 12 foot deep. Like it was super deep ditch, like wide, massive ditch, and it was obviously abandoned. There was like nothing there. The machines are all gone. There was like this empty hole in the ground. So we rode down there and take a look, and we set up our tent. And the good thing is, this is like very good shelter from the wind, and nobody can see us. And the bad thing is, if it rained, we are screwed. Like this is literally like all the water will funnel in and it will flood. And trying to get out of that in time before it will be very bad. Either way, we got lucky. It didn't rain, so we got in, did the camping, got out the next morning. There was no issue. So the next day we continue on and stop in the only thing on our to-do list, which is to see the Mano del Desierto, or the Hand in the Desert. And I'm sure everyone has seen tons of these photos on the internet. It's this massive hand sticking out of the desert. It was made by a Chilean sculptor in like 1992, so it was not like thousands of years ago, but it's relatively recent. And of course, we knew it's a tourist attraction. Like this is obviously where people go and take photos, but of course we were on the way, so we wanted to do it as well. What we did not expect that this thing was literally sitting on the side of the highway, which is kind of like when you pull over on a rest stop and you see the rest stop coming up. Very accessible, very easy to get to, and you can see it from a mile away. But the problem, everybody else can get to it. Everybody sees it. There is a bazillion people there all the time. The whole time we were there, I mean, it's just rolling nonstop amount of people coming in. I mean, the photo looks pretty cool, but if I'm honest, it took us 20 plus minutes to just wait for our turn to take this photo, and we had to take it 100 different times because there's always people walking in and out, and it was an absolute ridiculousness. And then, of course, if you go close up to the actual sculpture, the sculpture, like it's loaded with graffitis. I don't understand why people vandalize other people's work of art, and like why? In the middle of nowhere. I just don't get it. This whole ordeal took like an hour and a half, and it was way too long. There was literally nothing around it. So once we got done, we continued towards Santiago, but we didn't make it. Of course, we ended in the town of Las Breas. We didn't actually knew that this town was there. We kind of was going south, or at least towards Santiago, and it got dark. So then we just pulled over, and we saw an abandoned mine, and then we just rode in because we already camped in other similar areas. So then we just kind of rode in. Simple, quiet, peaceful campsite. Nobody saw us there. There wasn't any water, but luckily we had just enough on us to survive the night so we can refill the next day. Now, the good part is, like I said, the roads are fantastic. Smooth. You can ride at a very decent pace, like 50, 60, 65 miles an hour. At least for South America, that's very good. The bad news is that it is an incredibly boring ride. I mean, there are parts that have ocean views, and you kind of like skirt around on the outside, and then that kind of breaks up monotony of the ride, but most of it is just the same old desert, mines here, mines there, no animals, no trees, nothing. It was pretty rough. But eventually the storm started to go down, and we are looking for camp again because it's quite a big stretch coming down here. And then we found another abandoned mine just a little bit off the main road. Like we saw it, we are like, okay, let's move to it, and it's a couple miles. You can still see the main road from the mine, but it's there's a distance. Now, this mine is slightly different in that it has a few hills in the area, and there's one particular hill that's like on the highest point, and we wanted to be on the top to check everything out, and maybe there's a good flat spot to camp on the top. One, because we want to make sure that nobody's up top looking down at us. So we rode up there, and it was very flat. and all the way to the edge of the drop off. Like it was a very nice flat spot all the way across. And we decided, hey, uninstructed view of the valley, and it's a little exposed, but like you can't really see us from the main road. I mean, it's so far, like it would be like a dot in the horizon if they ever tried to look over here. So it's not really like that visible from the main road. So we decided, hey, let's just set up. And there was a section where like there was pretty good space on both sides. So we set up our tent there. We marked the spot, put all our stuff like inside and loaded the tent down. Once the tent was set up and secured, and then I don't know why, I looked at it and I was just like, no, we have to move it. That I don't something doesn't feel right. So I decided to move the 10, 15 foot back. I mean, Staley was so confused because she was like, what? Why are we moving? Because the site was perfectly fine. There was space all around. It wasn't close to the edge or anything. But I was like, we gotta move it 15 foot back. So we took everything and then moved it like 15 feet back. And I cooked some food, went to bed. Everything seemed fine. There was occasional gust of wind, and there was all these noise at night. Thumping, like things moving. I mean, it's very windy, and you hear all kinds of stuff at night. And then the next morning, I wake up and got out of the tent. It was very foggy in the morning, and I could not distinguish where the edge ends and where the fog begins. Either way, I walked through the secure side to relieve myself, like against the wall, not against the edge. And after I was done, I turned around and then walked back towards the tent. And for a minute, I stared at it, and I was confused because I don't remember this massive boulder sitting there. And it just happened to be sitting where the tent was originally set up. And the thud that we heard the night before was this boulder rolling down the hill and ending it in that spot where our tent was before. Like, I kid you not, this was like I looked at it and I just stared at it like, what the heck? Like, at least didn't hit our bike or us. Like, this was a miracle. So after we pack up, I was so grateful to be alive. Again, I rode down the hill and we continued down the highway towards the capital of Santiago. Now, a good friend of mine, Felipe's uncle, lives in Santiago, and he owns a small sushi shop. The same friend that recommended me the place in Arica. So we ended up staying with him. The following day, we did a lot of walking around downtown, getting our laundry done, getting ready for crossing over to Argentina. Santiago is a super modern city. It is the only country in South America that can come to the US without the need to have a visa beforehand. Now, the city is beautiful. It has all the stores you can think of, all the big name brands as well. And man, it is very expensive. The day after, we packed up and thanked our host and headed towards the border crossing. We prepared to cross over to Argentina via the mountain border just north of Santiago from Route 60. Now, we had to cut through the Andes Mountains again, which means that we have to go up in elevation up to about 13,000 feet. This was a absolute epic, beautiful pass. The endless mountain views, the perfectly paved roads, and the zigzag mountain crossing remind me of the Swiss Alps. Probably the most notable section is this part of the pass where all these open yellow column tunnels that covers the road going up the mountain. So typically they would make these into like actual tunnels. So you're like going into, you don't see anything, but they made it so that it's like fully open. One side is fully open, so you see the mountains as you are coming through these like underpass tunnels. And these things are like all over the tunnel as you spiral up. And eventually, of course, we got to the border checkpoint. The Chilean side border checkpoint has the largest, the most advanced, super complex I have ever seen. I mean, this thing is massive. Everything in there was high tech. There was scanners. Like it was a super professional environment. You ride into the complex is like climate control is shielded from the outside temperature. I mean, it was freezing because we were up in elevation. It was super windy. And when you're inside, it's nice and comfortable. And this took like an hour and a half, but it was like super nice. Everybody was like hanging out. drinking coffee and stuff, and we're just like hanging out in this like huge complex, right? So then we finish there, and then we go forward. So in between the border crossing, usually you have like I would say like no man's land, right? So you have the border crossing in Argentina, and then you have the border crossing in Chile, and in between that, there's usually like around 10 miles of space, safety space. So you finish one and you go to the other. So we finished on the Chile side, and then we head towards the Argentina side, and then we get to there. It's literally, it's literally a pub, a tavern on the side of the road. Like the contrast was outrageous. Like there's nowhere to park your vehicle. You just find some dirt path on the side and you just park it. And then you go into this like really poorly insulated like little shack, and then you do your paperwork there hanging out in there, and then people stare at you awkwardly. It was so weird. So then we also spent like a good solid hour there. And then we finally finished everything and headed into Argentina. Now, we rode until the sun starts fading, and we just passed the town of Espeleta. And a little bit south of that, we found this like dirt trail that veers off. And we kind of just pull into the dirt trail and then look for like a camping spot. It turned out to be like a path going to like a very famous winery. But we didn't know that. We just kind of rode in, and then we found a spot. The sun was going down, so we camped out. It was still like around 6,500 feet, but we found a really nice flat spot. There was a stream nearby, and then we call it a day. Next time, we made it down Route 40, and I discovered something major was wrong with my bike.